What's going on, everybody? Luke Cowart back here with the Georgia Tech Paint Account. It feels like it has been a year. I hated not watching Georgia Tech play on Saturday, but we're back. It is game week, game day in 2 days, actually. Well, Thursday night matchup action with the Virginia Cavaliers coming into town. So let's dive right into it. This Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets football team is riding a two-game win streak. Brent Key is 2-0 as a head coach, has not lost yet. The fan base, myself included, are very excited going forward. We have a lot of momentum right now. We're playing with a chip on our shoulder. I feel like the way we've played the last 2 weeks, we're really trying to make up for how the national media has viewed Georgia Tech the last 4 years. We're really trying to just like make up lost ground for that. This team's playing really hard. They're playing with nothing to lose. And UVA is a team that comes in and they are struggling. They have talent. I'd argue just as much, if not more, than we do right now. But they are struggling with first-year head coach Tony Elliott, offensive coordinator coming over from Clemson. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. We are favored in this matchup for the first time against an FBS opponent since last year at Duke. We were favored by 4.5 in that game, and we're favored by 3 as of right now in this one. So hoping the team can keep that underdog mentality that they've been playing with the last 2 weeks. Hopefully got some good rest with the bye week. Coach Key mentioned that he let the players sleep in a little bit on the first day of practice in going into this game week, which was Sunday, I think. He said that provided a little spark for the team, and just hoping that they can come out with juice. I think the crowd's going to be rocking. Everything I've seen has everyone going to this game, which is awesome. I think we need a big crowd. Thursday nights have always drawn a good crowd for Georgia Tech at home, especially with a night game. So I think it's going to be a great atmosphere for the players, and I think they got to come out swinging. And they've done that with Coach Key, which is something that they never really could do under Coach Collins. So going to be a great one to watch. Diving a little bit into the numbers, Jeff Sims the last 2 weeks has been on fire. I called the shot when they played Duke. I said that the key to the game would have to be Sims playing good, which he did. And the breakout receiver would have to be Nate McCollum, which it was. So look at me. But that needs to continue to happen. Nate McCollum might take, don't be surprised if you see him take a little bit less of a role than you saw him with in the Duke game and with some other games prior. Because we do have Malachi Carter back 100% healthy, and Leo Blackburn is now in the mix as well, which is not a bad thing at all. It just means Jeff Sims has more offensive weapons to throw the ball around, which is nice because I feel like the two pieces that Jeff has really been missing throughout his career and really this year as well, up until this point, has been a good offensive line to give him good protection and dangerous weapons on the outside in the slot position. It's hard to go for Hendon Hooker and Bryce Young numbers when you don't have guys like Jalen Hyatt scoring 5 touchdowns and just blowing the doors off the defense. But Blackburn is going to be special. Malachi Carter, we know what he can do. He's back. He's healthy. He's been banged up the last couple of weeks and really hasn't played 100% most of this whole year. Nate McCollum, we've seen what he can do. He's going to continue his role. Kalani Norris left the program, but he wasn't playing a ton this year. That doesn't really concern me personally. So I wouldn't worry too much about that as a fan base either. Sims has weapons. I think Ryan King is making a name for himself. I think Malik Rutherford is really kind of like a Nate McCollum type. He's quick, he's small, but he's fast. And he can catch the ball. Great on screens. Took a screen pass versus UCF like 25 yards or something like that. So receivers got to keep playing well. Sims needs to have another good game. Sims really holds the key to this offense as far as us performing and winning a game. Because in the last 2 wins, the only 2 wins under Coach Key, Sims has played well. He didn't play particularly well through the air versus Pitt, but he played amazing on the ground. And he played well through the air and played very well on the ground versus Duke. And we won both of those games. So he's going to have to play extremely well in at least one of those, preferably both of those aspects on Thursday night, if you want to expect a win from the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So moving on to the run game, it's looked pretty good. Hassan Hall seems to have taken kind of an RB1 spot. Personally, I would like to see Dante Smith get a few more touches. I don't think he's getting any opportunities right now. I understand what the coaching staff is trying to do with giving the running back who has the hot hand, giving him the ball. I understand that. Hassan's been playing great. No knock to him at all. I just think I would like to see Dante get in there and get some more carries, maybe split 50-50, maybe give Hassan 75-25. But right now it's looking like 85-15 Hassan to Dante as far as snap percentage goes. And I would like to see that a little more balanced out. You can see Hassan getting tired towards the end of the game, and he's not as effective. And we know what Dante Smith can do. I mean, I still think he's one of the most talented backs we've had while Collins or Key has been there. He needs some more touches. He's great after contact. But hats off to Hassan. 61 carries for 330 yards so far this year. No touchdowns, though. So hopefully he'll get a touchdown. He'll get his first one on Thursday night. But yeah, so running game is looking okay. I think Dylan McDuffie's kind of fallen down a little bit. I think he's more of a bruiser, blocker type of running back, but you know, you need that on your roster as well. So interested to see how the running backs respond to Mike Daniels leaving the program for no apparent reason. He was asked by Kelly Quinlan and did not really give a reason besides the fact that he's gone. So I think we're going to be left in the dark about that until a couple weeks, or maybe even the off season, or maybe forever. But I think the running backs will be fine. I think that it was probably a disagreement between Coach Key and Coach Daniels, or it could have also been simply something personal come up with Coach Daniels. But do want to respect his privacy there. So whatever happens, happens. Life goes on. I think our running back room is going to be okay. And Ace Ely's father is actually stepping up as the interim running backs coach right now. So I'm interested to see how they perform coming off of that news. I'm sure they didn't love to hear that, but I'm sure there was a good reason for it. So moving on to the defense and how they need to play. What I'm looking for, Brennan Armstrong. We know what Brennan Armstrong can do. He was putting up video game Heisman numbers last year, and all of a sudden this year he has gone for 1,363 yards, thrown for 5 touchdowns and 7 picks. He's a turnover machine. He's 116 for 211, so he's sitting at about just over 50% completion percentage, which is not like him at all. I think part of the problem is Tony Elliott kind of having him on a leash and not letting him do what he does. Tony Elliott has been calling plays very stubbornly this year, and is not letting Brennan Armstrong play to his full potential. He's trying to force Brennan into his offense. So that has explained a lot of Brennan's struggles, a lot of his turnovers. He's not comfortable in this offense. Their rushing hasn't really been inspiring. Their leading rusher has less yards than Hassan Hall, who hasn't even been the starter all year. It is Paris Jones has 320 yards on 64 carries and 2 touchdowns. So, you know, the run game hasn't really been there. They fumbled a good amount on the ground as well, with Brennan and with their running backs. And then as far as the receiving game goes, Kateon Thompson, a guy who has been there for a few years now. He's a senior. We know what he can do as well. He tore us up last year, and he's torn us up for a couple of years in the past. He has 41 receptions for 449 yards this year, which is a pretty substantial stat line. No receiving touchdowns yet. I think Brennan Armstrong is a guy who likes to throw the ball around, distribute it a lot. But he is a guy that we're going to have to keep our eye on for sure. So the way I feel about this game is I want to be very confident because Virginia has not shown me anything this year, but I know the talent they have. I know how talented Brennan Armstrong is. I know how talented Ketion Thompson is. And we always play them a very close game. So I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to blow them out of the water. Now, if we play like we've been playing the last 2 weeks and these special teams gets cleaned up, continues to get cleaned up, Sims is on the money, the offensive line is getting a good push on that front seven in the run game, and we can establish the run like you need to do in every football game, I think we're going to put ourselves in a pretty good position to win. Pass defense has looked great. As crazy as that sounds to hear, it has looked great. We are our secondary is number 13 in the country with pass defense with the metric used as opposing QBR. So that's something to think about. Pass defense is 4th in the ACC in yards allowed, with allowing just over 200 a game in passing yards allowed. That's not bad, especially considering what we've been looking at the last 3 years with the secondary and the coaching staff in the secondary. So vast improvements have been made just with the defense as a whole, but especially in the secondary. And I think a part of the secondary success this year has been the pressure that the D-line's been able to get on the quarterback. And Virginia's O-line was expected to be horrible this year and has lived up to those expectations. They have been bad. And when I say bad, I mean Georgia Tech 2019 level bad, like awful. So hopefully the D-line can continue to do their thing. I expect Keon White to have a huge game, 1 or hopefully even 2 sacks, maybe 3. I think you're going to see an aggressive blitz package from Thacker and company and Jason Seymour. I think you're going to see Charlie Thomas flying around. Expect him to get a pick. A lot of Brennan Armstrong's throws this year have been mid-range throws. So Charlie's going to be a rover, sitting at about that 8 to 10 yard mark, just guarding, the middle of the field. If they're running zone blitz or anything that comes in the middle, Charlie's going to be there. And we know how much of a ball hawk he can be. So expect him to try to get a pick, and expects us to force a fumble as well. And my final score prediction for this game is going to be Georgia Tech 31, Virginia 17. That is what I'm going with. I think we pull away late. I think Virginia kind of hangs around all game. Like I said, they're not like a FCS team. I mean, they're very talented. This is a game that we should win, especially with how both teams have been playing recently. But don't count the who's out. We've got to continue to play with an underdog mentality, with a chip on our shoulder, and we've got to feed off the crowd that's going to be there on Thursday night. So really hoping to see Jeff Sims play another good game. As you all know, I'm a big fan of his. And I'm just really hoping that he continues the role that he's on. Nate McCollum, I think, is going to be able to expose that pretty weak Virginia secondary and get open a lot downfield and across the middle. And I think that we win this football game pretty decisively. So hoping the crowd's rocking. 3-game win streak hopefully coming up on the way for Coach Key. And we're going to need it because after this, we play some tougher ACC opponents. We got some tough road matchups coming up. And this home game on Thursday versus Virginia is going to be one of the easier games we have left on our schedule, if not probably the easiest. So we need to win this one, especially if we want to make a bowl game. This is a must-win game, I think, for the Georgia Tech coaching staff. And 3 wins in a row will just be amazing for the fan base, for the school, for the new athletic director, Jay Batt. I think it would really get the ball rolling with this football team with the rest of this year and going into next year. So be there on Thursday, cheer them loud, cheer them proud. As always, go Jackets, and to hell with Georgia. And I'll be back next week with a recap of the results from Thursday night and looking ahead. Go Jackets.